live. Oh, on the wrong slide here. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our this week's Thursday live in Simple Kids Program Solutions Group. For those of you watching on YouTube later, welcome to the channel. Here we're tackling kids programs problems, right, with our solutions. Right? But if you want to check these out live, we do them in the week. Every week on Thursday at 11 a.m. in our Facebook group. So if you want to see them live, that's where you can go and take questions live when they do pop up during the live. So enough about the live. My name's Charlie. We help kids programs owners specifically. Now we're really focusing in on the staff piece. So we help kids program owners solve their staff problems. Okay, and we do that through a couple of our different effective tactics that we've used in multiple programs, including our own, to bring those programs up to speed in terms of getting the right team on board and then really ramping up revenue once you have the right coaches in place. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's get into today's live. So thank you guys for joining. Today we're going to be talking about tackling staff challenges, effective discipline techniques for kids program leaders. So the unfortunate side of being a leader in your business, right, will mean that eventually you're going to have to do some discipline. Right, and I did a video a while back talking about the carrot and the stick, and so in the video, basically, I overview you want to have a reward system and you want to have a discipline system in place for when people are achieving the goals that they're supposed to be achieving or going above and beyond, versus if they're not meeting those expectations, how do we go through and how do we discipline them? So today I'm going to give you guys 5 tactics that you can implement today in order to really increase the effectiveness of your discipline. Okay, so first and foremost, everything has to begin with clear expectations, clear guidelines, so that we can properly hold people accountable. It doesn't work when you want to hold someone accountable to a standard that you never properly communicated or gave the needed resources to meet. Okay, so first and foremost, we must communicate expectations to all of our staff members. Okay, so communicate expectations to all staff members, meaning write them down, ensure that everybody has gotten their chance to kind of go through them and understand them. Nothing will infuriate your people more than giving them expectations that were never clearly communicated, nor do they really understand the reason for those expectations to be there, which I always say, respect the intellect of your worker. Therefore, if they are wondering why an expectation is what it is, make sure to explain that. Okay, develop a code of conduct or an employee handbook. These are really good. So we like to use scorecards. And a code of conduct employee handbook is really kind of the catch-all behind the scorecard. So if the scorecard is the immediate expectations, right? If we had 2 circles, the core of the circle would be the immediate expectation, and the code of conduct, the handbook, would be the tertiary expectations around that. Okay, so yes, we want them to hit both areas of expectations, but to try to include everything that would go into, say, a code of conduct or an employee handbook would be insane. That would be a super long job description, obviously, right? So you link it and say, hey, this is part of the professionalism you're expected to meet, the code of conduct. And in there, you can overview things like dress code. What do you think is level of appropriateness, right? So there's a certain level of decency that is expected in the workplace. And the employee handbook is a great place to write that out. So if you have coaches who are showing up, half naked or wearing something incredibly offensive, I don't know. Just you're trying to help kind of lay those things out in your employee handbook, so that you don't have to have those things in the job description. Nonetheless, that does qualify as communicating the expectation, but you should make sure to go through those handbooks with your people, ensure that they have to sign their own version of it so that they can say and own up to the responsibility of saying, hey, they've gone through it, they understand the expectations that are laid out within it, and if they have any questions, this is how they can go about getting them answered. If required, provide staff training on expected behaviors and policies. Okay, so you got to use a little bit of, obviously there's some common sense with this, right? So it's like you don't necessarily need to teach your staff how to show up on time. That should be ideally common sense, you would think, right? But maybe not. Versus like, let's say you have a particular way that you want the mats cleaned, or the carpet vacuumed, or there's a particular set of equipment that you want used, or a particular set of or cleaning equipment, those type of things. So within that framework, give your people the benefit of the doubt. Give them a quick run through on how these expectations are to be fulfilled, and you'll really set them up for success going forward. So when it's like, hey, when I say clean the floor, I mean clean the floor using this solution, this tool, this way, versus, oh, I thought that was obvious. It may not be obvious. Okay, maybe One person was raised cleaning floors with bleach. Another person was raised cleaning floors with Clorox. One person was raised cleaning floors with whatever, you know what I mean? And so don't go into there thinking that those things are going to be obvious to your people. Lay it out for them. Say, hey, when we clean floors, this is what we use. This is how we do it. And so when you say clean the floors, it's clear to them. Okay, implement a consistent and fair discipline process. Okay, I hope it should be maybe intuitive, but you don't want to show favoritism with your discipline. And even the hint of it, and mainly people are like, I'd never do that. Well, you probably never do it consciously, but subconsciously, we do it all the time. So we have to be checked on that. So use a progressive discipline approach, meaning you'll want to always have a system in place that you follow. So first violation is this, second violation is this, third violation is this, and then that way when violations happen, right, when rules are broken, you run through first violation, second. So that way your people see that it's a systematic discipline process and not just, oh, well, depends on what mood the leader is in today on how things are going to go. Address issues promptly and fairly. When you see something happen, address it immediately. Waiting on it, hoping that it'll go away, hoping it will fix itself. That's not going to happen. It never does. Okay, so the easiest way to address it is immediately and do it as fairly as you possibly can. All right. Try not to do it in front of your people initially, but if they continue to make the mistake publicly, I tend to address things publicly. So I'm like, if you don't want it to be in the public, don't drag it out there. Okay, document incidents and disciplinary actions. Man, I cannot stress this enough, guys. Please do this. In today's world, I mean, in all the worlds, really, it's easy to forget the infractions and things that are happening. And, you know, we tend to build up these characterizations of our people and be like, oh, this person always does this. This person always does that. You know, they're always late. And then they go, well, I'm not always late. I was here on time just this day and that day and that. So people tend to remember all the times that they got it right. And you tend to remember all the times they got it wrong. To remove all of that, we're not trying to rely on memory when it comes to addressing behavioral issues with our people. We want to have incidents documented and have them sign it and get a copy of it. Because what we want to do is create a paper trail so that both parties, us and them, are aware of all of the incidents that unfold. And then when it comes to the point of it actually accumulating to maybe a serious disciplining or even being fired, you want to have the evidence laid out there so that both parties know what evidence has led up to this point. And if you don't document it, I'm telling you guys, if you don't document it, it could very well turn into something it isn't. Your staff could accuse you of firing them for some other biases that you may have. You know, maybe they think you're prejudiced. Maybe they think that you don't like them for whatever reasons. Okay, so that is 100%. A way to avoid that is just document the incidents, and specifically when you do document this, you want to make sure you're documenting the expectation they fell short of, that they agreed to uphold when they began. Okay, and that's the best way to do that. Okay, Ali wrote in the comment section, if you need help with write-up sheet, comment write-up and we'll send you the one we use. Yeah, so we do have a write-up sheet. If you want to comment write-up, and Ali will send it over to you. Okay, foster open communication and feedback as it pertains to those expectations. Okay, what happens is a lot of times you will be shocked at how much of your disciplining your staff will actually shape for you, okay? And what I mean by that, and we're going to actually cover it down here. So we're going to actually kill two birds with one stone with this section here. Regular review and assess the effectiveness. So when your staff have an expectation, okay, you set these expectations for them and you say, okay, guys, here are the expectations that we have. Don't make it seem like it's just the done deal, okay? I always like to tie the expectations not to my whim, but to the whims of the business, right? To the needs of the business. Here's the need of the business, and that is why this expectation over here, I know I'm blocking it off on my screen here. Let me get these lined up. Boom. Okay, here's the expectation, and it's tied over here to the need of the business. Need of the business, expectation. So what it'll help your people do is start to think from an abstract position of how do I look at these expectations and these needs and potentially help craft a new expectation based off of this need that may better meet those needs. Again, so you're getting your people to start thinking about the business and its needs and how that relates to their day-to-day life instead of this is how I want it, this is the way it's going to be done. You are unpredictable. The business is not. Okay. People are, we're emotional beings, and so therefore we're hard to predict. But the business is not. Okay. The business has set needs that we're trying to answer. And if you get your people thinking in that fashion, especially when it comes to like, hey, why are we showing up on time? Why do I ask you to be here 30 minutes early? Why do we do cleaning? When they have the ability to connect the expectation to the outcome, the desired outcome, they are way more likely to uphold it, because now they want to adhere to this mission, to this principle, to this goal, as opposed to just doing what the leader said, right? Some people have a problem with authority, and so they'll just back off entirely just to spite you, right? Just to spite the leadership and prove that they're not going to condone to your will. But if they're spiting a good practice, it is a much more difficult process for someone to just spite something when they know it's the right thing to do, and you can point to that, okay? So foster open communication and feedback as it pertains to those expectations. If someone thinks an expectation is unfair, you need to hear them out, okay? I don't think I should have to show up 20 minutes early to the shift. Really, tell me why, right? Tell me why you don't think that that's necessary. And then allow them to explain it, and you say, well, here's why the expectation's in place and why I can't agree to the terms that you've outlined, okay? Maintain an open door policy for discussing issues. You always, whenever you give your people expectations, follow that up by telling them, hey, these expectations are open for feedback, okay? We can have a discussion about exactly why this expectation has been laid out for the program, okay? And I'm happy to explain it further to you if need be. All right, you really want your people to get on board with the expectation, because if they buy into it, they will uphold and police it themselves. And that is extremely valuable. Okay, address conflicts and misunderstandings in a timely manner. Again, if someone's like, hey, I want to talk to you about this new program you rolled out, this new expectation you rolled out, okay? If that happens, you need to address it immediately. Don't be like, oh yeah, we'll get to that, and then weeks go by. That will tell your people you don't care, okay? You don't care about hearing their feedback. If they tell you there's a conflict, schedule right then and there. Hey, I'm free next Monday at 3:30. Could you make that time? I'd love to hear what you have to say, but that's the soonest I have time available. Okay, that's the best way to do it. If you don't have time then or anytime soon, schedule it with them so that they know, hey, this day's upcoming. I get to talk about it and have my time. Okay? All right, provide support resources for professional growth. You guys know I love to do this. Your job as a leader is to set expectations and then give your people the resources they need to meet those expectations. Okay? That's your job as a leader. Set the expectations, okay, which again should be tied to the business's needs, and then go from setting those expectations to then what do you need from me as the leader to actually bring those expectations to life, to meet those needs, to meet those expectations, excuse me. So we want to provide the support and the resources necessary for professional growth. If I tell my people, you need to ask for referrals in every single one of your classes, okay, and one of my coaches goes, I'm not comfortable with that, I don't know how to do it, I'm totally confused by that. Or even like we have on one of our scorecards, parent engagement. If they're like, hey, I don't know how to engage with the parents, I don't know how to have a conversation with them, then you need to host a workshop or a training and say, hey, does everybody feel this way? It's not that hard. We will totally help you guys with it. We'll do a workshop on this day going over like some conversational pieces or what the parent's interested in knowing. Okay, so provide them the resources so that they can go, I don't know how to do it. You say, well, I will provide you the resources necessary to help you accomplish this goal. All right, that's how we're going to get that done. Offer the training, workshops, coaching on conflict resolution, communication skills. Coaching on conflict resolution is really helpful for your people who are like, oh, I didn't want to like get, this other coach in trouble because they did, X, Y, Z. It's like help your people understand how to call out things that are falling below the expectation. Okay, if someone didn't do their cleaning and another coach notices that, then you want them to be able to call that out and not have to necessarily get them in trouble. Be like, hey man, if we don't clean, then the facility looks bad. It looks bad on us as business. Attendance goes down, yada, 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 right? It kind of helps them reason to that point that you would ideally reason to as a leader, because you're going to point, hey, this is the expectation. You fell short of it. Now we're going to discipline you, okay? Here's your first warning. Next one's going to be right up, so on and so forth. Encourage self-reflection and learning from mistakes. Your people need to learn how to use this information to get better, right? And not see it as a personal attack. And the best way to avoid that is to constantly voice that as a core value or principle in the business. We use our mistakes to learn. We use our mistakes to learn. We use our mistakes to learn, right? hammer that home for your people so that when you are calling that out, you're saying, look, I'm not calling you out specifically, I'm calling out this behavior. You are choosing to do this behavior. Let's choose to not do this behavior. Celebrate improvements and acknowledge staff growth. A lot of time, I think people overwhelm themselves with being like, I got to make a big deal. No, you don't have to make a big deal. If I have to talk to someone about showing up late, okay, and they show up late, I write them up, and then I say, hey, what do you need from me to help you show up on time, right? And they're like, oh, nothing. I just got to make it happen. Okay, let's do it. Out of your own words, let's make that happen. When they do show up, you don't got to make a big deal of it. You just go up to them and be like, hey, thanks for showing up on time today. Appreciate that. And don't do it. I know that might have sounded like facetious, but don't do it facetiously, right? Do it in a way that's encouraging of like, I see you making improvements and I appreciate that. Matter of fact, I would say that, right? So I see you making those improvements. I really appreciate that. Thank you for showing up on time today. It looks good. Okay. All right. Provide again, this is just about, you need to provide, I'm going to change right now. Instead of provide support and resources, it's provide support and resources for expectations, right? Because that's really what it should be, is what are the expectations, provide support and resources to hit those expectations. Okay, evaluate and adjust discipline strategies as needed. As I mentioned earlier, review them. Are they working? Do you have a discipline structure that's too lenient? Do you have a discipline structure that's too different, that's too strict? Right? Get feedback from your people. I love this question right here. If this is the expectation, if this expectation is not met, what would be a fair consequence? Okay? If you are not meeting the expectation that's being put on you, what would be a fair consequence for me as a leader to enforce for you not to do that? And you'd be surprised when it's like the old biblical proverb where he brings them in and has them administer punishment to themselves, and they end up doing super lenient punishment. He goes, oh, I knew you're the one who did, because you're giving yourself lenient punishment. Versus the other person who wasn't going to be the person causing the infraction was strict about it, of like, hey, if they show up late, they should be fired. And you go, oh, okay, well, maybe that's a lot initially. But again, when your people help form those expectations, it creates a whole level of buy-in that is incredibly hard to get any other way, because now they have a hand in creating the expectation and creating the discipline structure that you as a leader will have to enforce. So they know, okay, if I violate this, I created this one right here. I created the discipline structure that I'm going to have to go through if I violate this expectation. Or my peers created it. That's another big thing too. It's like, if your peers created it, it's like, hey, they have the same expectations that I do. What's my excuse for not meeting them? Versus they're meeting them all the time, right? Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Establish clear expectations. But before you go, just so you guys know, we are rebuilding some amazing stuff on our side. So for Staff Scaling Secrets, we've got some really cool things coming your guys' way with that. If you want to check out Staff Scaling Secrets and the phenomenal offer we got going on over there, comment staff in the comment section below in this video. We'll reach out to you, get you all set up to check out what it is we've got going on, see if it's the right fit for you. If it is, we'll move forward and help get you guys the staff all locked down and get that business growing. But again, establish clear expectations, guidelines, implement a consistent and fair discipline process, foster open communication and feedback as it pertains to those expectations, right? That's like communication on, is this expectation fair or not, all right? Provide support and resources for that expectation. So, hey, is this fair? Yes, great. Here's the resources for hitting that expectation. And then finally, evaluate and adjust discipline strategies as needed. So the third one is getting the feedback on the expectation itself, and then evaluate and adjust discipline strategies is getting feedback on the disciplining itself, right? It's like, if I show up late, write up, or if I show up late, I lose hours, whatever. Like whatever you decide to do for your discipline structure, it's good to open up both the expectation and the discipline itself to feedback from your staff. Because again, the more parts of your business the staff feel like they have a voice on and help create, the more likely they are to enforce those discipline structures and expectations themselves. And if you have that, you are winning, okay? Your program is winning if you have your people carrying out the mission and the vision on their own without you necessarily needed as a leader, okay? All right? Excellent. Cool. Well, I hope you guys found value in today's training. God bless. I hope you guys have a great week. We will see you guys next week for the next video. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head what it is right now. But I do appreciate your guys' time today. I hope you have a great week. And as usual, if you guys need help with your staff, reach out, send us a DM, comment on these videos. we will get in touch with you and help you find a way through it. In the meantime, see you guys on the other side.